Do you have trouble propagating your string of pearls? You know that plant that looks like peas on the string? Well, today I'm going to share with you how easy it is to propagate this plant by soil method. And first of all, let's prepare our pot and our soil mixture. Today I'm just using a 12 centimeter terracotta pot, which is approximately 5-inch pot. It's approximately the same depth as well. I like using terracotta pot for propagating string of pearls because it prevents from overwatering. Well, not only does the water evaporate from the top of the soil, but also the sides as well. My soil mixture is well drained but still maintains a little bit of moisture. I find that this works super well with propagating this plant. My soil mixture consists of 50% potting mix and 50% cacti soil. I mean, if you do have a different soil mixture that you use, I'd love to read about in the comment section down below, because I do like to try different soil mixtures for different plants. Now also what I'm doing is that I'm going to grab some cuttings from my mother plant. You don't actually need a very long strings to actually propagate it. I find that with the size, I tend to take about 5 centimeter length cuttings, which is approximately 2 inches. Now, if your cutting's too long, you can always cut it in half. If you find that the cuttings are too short, that's absolutely fine. I find that still works. I just find that if the cutting's too long, it actually takes longer for the plant, the new propagation, to grow roots. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually wash these cuttings because my string of pearls is actually growing outside because I just don't have any more space in the household to actually grow more plants indoors. So with my string of pearls cutting, I'm just going to wash it with normal tap water just to get rid of any dirt, get rid of any pests as well. And what I'm going to do, there's 3 ways of actually soil propagating this plant. The first way is to actually just layer that string on top of the soil. Now what you want to make sure is that the pearls are actually facing upwards, because there's 2 sides of a string of pearls. There's one side that has all the pearls. The other side is actually where the roots will grow out. And you'll find that the roots will grow out where they're nodes. And nodes are actually located where the pearl is, but underneath. So to make sure that the pearls are upwards and the actual back is at the bottom, that way the roots are growing down. If you bury the pearls too much in the soil, there's a chance that the pearls can actually rot, and that can lead to root rot. And the pearls are actually the leaves of this plant, so you want to make sure that you don't want to actually rot the pearls. Now it's actually with this string of pearls, when doing this method, it can be if you have children, or if you have pets, or if you accidentally knock it, it can actually move the string of pearls propagation, the cuttings. So that's not ideal because you don't want to end up breaking the new root systems that the plant is growing. So what I also do is I just use a bobby pin, and I spread the bobby pin out slightly and I pin down the actual cuttings. This way it's actually more secure in the soil. And then also what I do is I only lightly use that same soil mixture and lightly cover the actual cuttings. I'm not burying it, I'm just only lightly covering it, more to actually cover the strings rather than the pearls. This way it gives the plant extra chance to actually grow more roots in multiple areas of the node. So that's the first technique. The second technique is that you have your cuttings, you remove about 3 or 4 of the pearls on one end of the cutting, then use a stick, I'm just using a chopstick today, and dig down into the soil and make sure that where the stem is, that you remove the pearls, you completely put it into the soil. And that way it's a little bit more secure. You don't have to use any bobby pins to actually secure the cuttings. And I find with this technique, I find that actually the end plant actually looks more full and lush, because the more cuttings you use this way, the more full and lush it will be. So that's the second technique of how to do the soil propagation. Now if you have trouble, if you've done these methods before and you still have trouble propagating a string of pearls, the one that gives you really almost 100% success rate is by doing this third soil propagation method. So you still have your mother plant. So you put your mother plant higher up. So I'm just using a terracotta pot to actually lift my mother plant up. I'm going to get my propagation pot and I'm going to grab these strings that are on the mother plant and actually layer it on top of the actual propagation pot. So, and what you want to do is also use bobby pins to pin it down so it's more secure. Now, if you're doing this method, you're just going to make sure that you're setting it up, you're setting it up in a place where you don't need to move the pots, because you don't want to move it because it's really a hassle to move it and you don't want to disturb the root system. So first of all, set up in the place where you actually want to leave the propagation in. So once you've secured the actual the strings into the pot, also you want to lightly cover those actual strings. And once again, it's still the same thing to try and promote more nodes to grow more roots, so that the actual new propagated plant is looking very, well, it becomes very healthy because it has a really good root system. And what you're doing with this technique, it works extremely well because it's not just a fresh cutting. It's actually still getting its water and nutrients from the mother plant. So it's more likely that the cuttings won't die, that actually a new plant will grow from it. And once you lightly cover the pot, once again you want to use a chopstick, maybe just to make sure that all the soil is nice and secure and compact, that the actual cuttings are all secure in the soil. And also you want to use that stick or chopstick to get rid of air pockets. You just don't want air pockets in soil, because air pockets means that it's areas where the plant won't be able to access nutrients or water. Once that's all done, I actually use just normal tap water to actually water the plant. And this way here, the actual cuttings will get enough water. I'm also going to water the mother plant. Now, I've accidentally forgot to actually put a bottom pot, a saucer underneath the mother plant, so actually dripping out a lot of water from the drainage hole. So I'm just going to put this plastic sort of saucer underneath it so it actually holds some water, because I find that because I've set up my string of pearls outside, it does need a lot more water compared to if it's set indoors. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that the propagated pot, the soil becomes completely dry before you re-water it. And you also want to make sure that the mother plant that's in the pot is also, the soil becomes completely dry before re-watering again. Now, because the mother plant is in a plastic pot and my propagator pot is terracotta, now the watering can be different. It can vary. It doesn't mean that the mother plant will need water when the propagated pot needs water. So best thing to do before watering your plants, just to make sure that the soil is completely dry before you water it. You can use a water meter to check for that, or what I do is I just use my finger and just go as far down as into the soil as possible to make sure the soil is completely dry. But sometimes, I must admit, I do use a water meter sometimes, because I just sometimes don't want to get my fingers dirty or wet. And once that's done, I've actually placed the actual propagation of mother plant in a semi-sheltered area, so a semi-shaded area, because I don't want the actual pearls to burn if it's in too much of direct sunlight. So it's actually in this area with in semi-cover, so it actually receives a lot of light all during the day, but it's actually sheltered from the harsh afternoon light because I don't want the harsh sun to actually burn the pearls. What I'm also going to do, just to give it an extra help, string of pearls, they don't need high humidity, but I found that when propagating string of pearls, for the roots to grow fast and to have more success, I actually tend to use a Glad wrap to cover the pot just to increase the humidity slightly. Now, if you don't have Glad wrap, you can use any clear plastic cover, or you can use a clear plastic bag. It's just the aim of it is to increase the humidity slightly, just to give that extra boost for the propagations to actually produce roots a lot more faster. So I'm going back to the same routine. I'm just letting the actual soil completely dry before I re-water it. And we're going to come back to this propagation in a few months and I'll show you what it looks like. And if you want to know how to take care of your string of pearls, watch this video here. And don't forget, just to help your crazy plant lady Min out, just make sure that if you please subscribe to the channel and hit the likes button. I really appreciate your support.